River cruises. Where have you been all my life? I have enjoyed many ocean voyages over the years. At that time, I think I had the opinion that river cruising was the pricey younger half-sister of those mammoth floating islands called ocean liners. So what was it that changed my mind about river cruises? Hold on, let's back up a minute. Recently, I traded this mini yacht experience in Croatia for another type of cruise. I decided to go on a river cruise, but I saved over $1,000 by going on an affordable cruise. I'll show you whether it was worth it or not. You be the judge. I chose the affordable route because I just wanted to kind of get my toe in the water and then see if I wanted to do others. So let's go see. Was it worth it? Listen to this video to find out. Years ago, I had heard about a cruise line that was European. I remember it was like 3 letters and started with a T. A short Google search came up with TUI. Aha, I found it. Look, the logo forms a TUI turned into a smile. I put in different searches, one after another, but all I got was access denied, and I found that other people had gotten the same message. Maybe that's why there were only people from the UK on our boat. There was one American, but probably an expat. Had the company gone out of business? I really didn't think so, so I kept trying. Then I found a tiny little contact link and clicked it. It actually worked and took me to a contact page for filling in information. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had contacted the Travel Village Group, an agent for cruising. What the heck? I was desperate. So I filled out the form and also gave my phone number. Within minutes, a nice lady from the UK called me back. The agent happily answered all my questions and also assured me that TUI was still in business. They saved us quite a bit of money by deducting the airfare from London to Amsterdam because we were going direct. These two companies are affiliated with each other and both have information about TUI. I will list contact information in the description below. On TUI, a European cruise line, I saved over half the price of, say, Viking or something similar than that. And I'll tell you why. I didn't have to give up a lot. In fact, I didn't have to give up anything that I really wanted. Here's how you save when you book an affordable cruise line. I'm a simple gal on a pension, but I love to travel. I honestly feel it was a deluxe cruise without the deluxe price. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Here's how you save when you book an affordable cruise line. By the way, they are not compensating me or paying me in any way. The boats on the TUI cruise line are a little older, but they're beautifully refurnished. There's no swimming pool. I wouldn't be using that anyway. There's no room service, but not all of the river cruises have room service. They don't offer excursions that are included, but you can book them separately and choose what you'd like to go on. I prefer to go by myself. I like to see the unusual places, not the cathedrals and places that people normally go. I've seen enough cathedrals. Not that I don't like them. So here's what TUI does give you. They give you 3 meals a day, beautifully prepared and delicious, and they cater to allergies or other health concerns that you might have. I remember on the cruise that I just went on, I ordered 2 helpings of vegetables instead of potatoes, and also without salt. No problem. Done. They gave me just what I ordered. I'm going to show you a long line of the meals that I got on the last cruise. You'll be able to drool over them later in this video. For some cruisers, the food is the most important part. They don't even get off at the ports. As you can see, it's beautifully prepared and presented, but it's also not overly indulgent. Oh, yum. I don't need all the fancy extra stuff. I don't need a lot of grease, but it was beautifully prepared and presented. I can't wait till I go on another one. Also, for those of you who like to drink, there's free beer and wine with the lunch and dinner. What else could you want? Ah, yes. Thank goodness for the small things. I really appreciated the lovely little water bottle they gave us in our room to take with us. It was just the right size to carry with me for the port visit. The cocktails are extra, but you can buy a drink package for that. For those of you who have been on ocean cruises, do you remember how long it took for the order to get back to the kitchen and serve those other 4,000 people? Here, they're only 150, and our orders came back right away. There's free Wi-Fi for everyone all over the ship, and once a week they serve a tea with delicious cakes and pastries. But I almost wished I didn't know about it. They were just too tempting to resist. It's also important to mention that gratuities for the staff are included. You heard me right. Tips and gratuities are all part of the package. Now let's step on board and see what TUI's Isla riverboat looks like on the inside. There's no waiting in a large assembly hall like you do when you go on an ocean cruise. You just walk into the boat and are met at the reception desk. They take your ID and give you a key card. Then you just go to your cabin and your luggage is already there. Reception is very friendly and always willing to answer your questions about the boat or any of the ports you'll be visiting. The decor is not opulent, but it's really very nice. Here's where the tour director sits to be of assistance to any of your questions also. Maps and other information are provided for each port that you visit. Our cruise sailed down the Rhine, starting in Amsterdam, going to Cologne, Koblenz, Mannheim, Strasbourg, Breisach, and ending in Basel. But thanks to one of my Airbnb guests, he didn't recommend staying in Basel. Instead, we took the short train ride to Colmar, a fairy tale village in France. I'll tell you more about this chocolate box city in part 2 of this video. Now let's find out more about this long boat that sails down the Rhine and back up again. It's all very clean and shiny. You might say it's quite shipshape. There's lots of light, and it doesn't smell old or musty. With only 150 people on board, your cabin is never very far away. Of course, our budget-priced standard cabin was on the very lowest deck. How lovely! This room was a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Right away, they asked us if we would prefer twin beds. The answer was yes, so while we were at dinner, they made the switch, and we came back to a beautiful room with 2 beds. I have seen the cabin on one of the Viking ships, and there's not even room for a chair at the end of the bed. I can see there's a lot more room in this cabin. And there are those intimidating frosted doors. Well, maybe for some. But the good thing about them is that they slide open and close with just a whisper. How spacious! This is a lot bigger than the ones I've seen on an ocean cruiser. The portholes are a lot larger than I had anticipated. Look through that porthole. The ship next to us has little rectangular ones that are higher. The river splashes up and puts a film on them, however. Actually, I thought it was kind of fun to be so close to the water. They call this the swan view. He's going to have to swim really fast to keep up with this boat. But we found if you smack your phone against the glass, the picture will turn out a lot better. See what I mean? This is the view from the cabins above us. They have picture windows. The ones above that have French balconies. Hit the deck. Everything is flattened to about 2 or 3 feet tall, so the boat can slip under those low bridges. But at first glance, they kind of remind me of nuns performing penances. No, I guess not. It's just an umbrella. Good use is made of the deck space. Most all European riverboats are 440 feet long. That's longer than a 360-foot football field. There are assorted games and a shuffleboard mat that really doesn't look like too much fun, especially on a windy day. Here's a secret. Be like the Brits. They really know how to confront blustery weather. Get behind those glass panels on the bow. Or stay cozy in this little conversation area near the two restaurants that Isla provides. The other communal area is called the observatory. I must say, this looks a lot more comfortable than similar areas I've seen on more expensive ships. This is where the rundown about upcoming ports is given and where the staff is recognized for all their diligent service. Entertainment is scheduled at 9:30 p.m., but I usually skip that one. Well, maybe next time. I feel this is also an advantage over fancier boats. There is open seating at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Small tables just for two that can be pushed together for a larger group. This was a very festive birthday celebration. It's just me, but one of the highlights of this trip was going through the many locks that are located on the Rhine River. Sailing down from Amsterdam to Budapest has 67 locks. I felt the ship bump against something, so I figured it must have been a lock. I looked out the window and about 5 inches away was a wall. So we quickly ran upstairs to the top deck and found the captain or the pilot or the master locksmith there guiding the ship through the lock. How exciting was that? Later we learned that this lock delayed us 3.5 hours because one of the fill valves was out of commission. You may not agree, but to me, this was better than any lounge entertainment. It looks like we made it just in time. We're going out of the lock and continuing on the Rhine. Ooh, look up. Now for what you've all been waiting for, of course, it's the food. There was always a wide variety of selections, and if you didn't see it on the menu, you could probably order it. Let's start with breakfast, and then we'll just continue in random order. Enjoy. This is the creamiest ice cream. you hungry or so full you couldn't eat another bite? Don't forget, there's a part 2 to this video. I'll take you to all the ports where we stopped along the way as we traveled down the Rhine. We boarded the river cruise boat in Amsterdam. Our first stop was Cologne. The next stop was Koblenz, where the Rhine meets the Mosel. We got off in Mannheim, but a lot of people went to Heidelberg, only a short ways away. In order to visit the beautiful town of Strasbourg, we had to dock in Kiel. Breisach, Germany, was a good place to relax. Basel was the end of our river voyage, but we took a train to Colmar, a beautiful little town in France. In part 2 of this video, I'll show you around Colmar and take you to some of my favorite places that we found there.